this play, the rioting is intensifying to the point where we may not be able to contain it.
Why contain it? It's cool.
Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today I wanted to do some more F Tier Fridays. So previously, I guess on F Tier Fridays, we discussed Maxx the Hype Nitro, who we probably didn't have the most refined build for at the time. I think at the time we were running 9 hyperdrivers, but then LSS agreed with me and printed an entire Armory deck with 9 that focused around running 9 actual real hyperdrivers, which is very, very cool and very, very interesting kind of design. And before I kind of get into the deck list today, I wanted to kind of like talk about, I guess, some of the new cards that are kind of introduced here. So historically, one of the kind of like better cards that's been in Maxx has been Construct Nitro Mechanoid, which is basically almost like a 1 card 30, 40, something like an insane amount of value off of just like 1 card. And it's basically kind of like a, you know, like a quest that you have to fulfill, like getting a bunch of hyperdrivers, and then you eventually get this like huge payoff where you get to deal a bunch of damage over the course of the game, gain a bunch of health, like just a very, very strong card. And the Armory deck doesn't really add anything that kind of supports that very strong game plan that he has. But instead is kind of focused on more of like a wrench-based game plan. So we have like cards like Fist Pump that like are buffing Wrench. We have cards like you know, like the brand new Wrench that they printed, Construct Bank Breaker. And then we have cards like Clamp Press, which are all like kind of like Wrench synergies, which is very interesting. Yeah, so with this new kind of like Wrench synergy, the biggest, I think, kind of winner card is Clamp Press. So Clamp Press kind of introduces like a new thing that you could do if you're not running like the Mechanoid stuff, which is like you can basically like buff Banksy, and then Banksy can, by virtue of it having an on hit, basically like threaten to put counters back onto the Clamp Press, so maybe it like stays around for a decent amount of time. So this is like kind of like a pretty decent like card that kind of like synergizes stuff. One card that I think has been kind of disappointing, or at least among the Maxx players I've talked to, is like Construct Bank Breaker. So why would you ever want to like use this card, right, over Construct Nitro Mechanoid? And I think the answer is if you want to keep your equipment. So this is maybe good into like classes like Wizards, where you want to like keep like AB or whatever, or like you don't want to like lose all your armor because then you like tap out of AB and you lose the game, right? So it's maybe kind of strong into classes where you like want AB or you want your equipment for some reason, but like Maxx's equipment's like not that crazy, to be honest. Like, I don't know, like the payoff here is like you get to swing with a Wrench like maybe a couple more times. You maybe get like 12 value out of this, but you're not getting like the same amount of value out of Construct Nitro Mechanoid, and you're paying a very similar cost, right? So you're basically having to get rid of 3 hyperdrivers. You only have to pay 0 for this one, which is definitely decent, but you're not getting like the full like 15 armor or whatever, plus the, you know, like the constant weapon swings, which really make the Construct Nitro Mechanoid like backbreaking. So the question is then, like, can you run this card in a deck that's like the same as like the Mechanoid deck? And like, why would you ever want this card over Mechanoid? And like, it's, I think, basically just for AB, and I guess for Jarl also, because like you can basically like make sure that they can't blow up your Mechanoid. But like the reasons to actually run this card are kind of few and far between, and like you really don't get a ton of payoff. It's almost kind of like a budget version of Construct Nitro Mechanoid. Like, it's not really all that it's cranked up to be, I guess. Just kind of like a not super impressive card. And yeah, like there's a bunch of armor, I guess, that was also printed that kind of is supposed to like synergize with like the Wrench game plan and like the 9 hyperdriver game plan, but it's almost like the deck's trying to do like a few too many things at once, right? Like you have like these like, this wants to put hyperdrivers in the graveyard, this wants to like make sure your hyperdrivers are staking around, so like this, like these two kind of almost like anti-synergize with each other, which is kind of weird. And then you also want to like banish hyperdrivers, like these two kind of focus around banishing hyperdrivers, but if you're banishing hyperdrivers, you're not putting them in the graveyard, and like it's almost like we don't know what zone the hyperdrivers are supposed to be in almost. But like I think in general, like it banishes really good for cards like Gas Up, which are like you can play a hyperdriver from banish, you can basically like cheat out action points doing that, which is really, really strong. So like for cards that basically got added, there's not really a ton. Like, I don't know, like you get Clamp Press, which is like an alternate kind, like the way that Maxx players have kind of explained this to me is that like Clamp Press is kind of like the new alternate game plan, as opposed to like Construct Bank Breaker is like not actually like a real game plan. Like Clamp Press, I think you're supposed to use in a decks where you don't want to use Construct Nitro Mechanoid for whatever reason, and then you just like run this or whatever. But like for the most part, like what did this deck really change about Maxx? And that's kind of, I think, the puzzle that I think a lot of Maxx players are trying to figure out. Also, I guess to mention another graveyard synergy is like the Twin Tech charging station, which like I guess kind of synergizes with everything a little bit because you get to like shuffle Hyperdriver from your graveyard into your deck, which means that you can like banish it to or like banish it to boosting, which turns on your like dry break or your wrench or your fist bump or whatever, and then you can also like discard a Protoss or like I don't know. There's like it's like this deck is like kind of pulled in a bunch of different directions, and it's not super clear like what direction is the correct direction to take. So with all of that in mind, I wanted to kind of give my first impression of Maxx based on just a lot of research that I did and also some kind of test games. And I'm not going to promise that this is going to be the best version of Maxx, but I think it is an initial take on Maxx that I think is interesting at least. All right, so I'm going to talk about my current version of Maxx. And I don't think that this is necessarily the most optimal way to play it. Like there are some cards in here that I know are bad and I'll point those out as we go. But I do want to kind of explain like what I'm trying to do and why it's unfair here. So this is a deck that is running all 9 hyperdrivers, and that is the first kind of red flag here. Is like, why are you running like the blue ones and the yellow ones? Like, I think most Maxx players, from what I understand, are on the red hyperdrivers. I want to run all of them just because I think that it's more fun that way, and it also just kind of feels kind of cool. I also have a bunch of synergies in here that kind of work on cheating off action points. So we have like the medics here, which is like on hit, put an item with 0/1 for your cost into the arena. So what this can do with the hyperdrivers, obviously, is that you can like cheat them out and then crank them, and then you get like action points on hit, basically, which is kind of good. Which is also why I'm running the expedites over like T-bones and stuff, because I think that this on hit does matter pretty substantially. And then we're running a bunch of good boost cards. You need to have like a certain amount of boost cards just to like make the deck function. Because if you don't have like a certain threshold of boost cards, your deck's not going to work. Basically, like you're going to draw like a hand of like 3 gas ups and then like a what's the other card called, like a recharge, and then you're not going to be able to actually like get an attack that boosts, right? So it's very important to also have like some base floor of consistent boost cards. And I think we're running kind of like the cream of the crop here. I think, also to mention, Heist is also another card that can kind of function in a similar like on hit method as like the medics, where if we have like hyperdriver and banish, we can also kind of like cheat out action points that way. So basically what the hyperdrivers in this deck are doing is they're basically acting as almost like cracked baubles. Like they're almost like transcend cards, but they're not really. And maybe that's kind of my flaw in thinking with this deck, is that like these are like pseudo transcend cards that are like bad and not playable at all. And you're just hoping to never draw into them, except for like the red and the yellow ones. The red and the yellow ones I think are okay, but the blue ones are like egregiously bad. You almost never want to like have them in your hand except for like pitch and stuff. So like you never want to like actively play this card. You want to basically like pitch into your deck, try to banish it, that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is a deck that is focused on the Nitro Mechanoid game plan, which I think is the better game plan for Maxx right now. Unfortunately, the wrench stuff I don't think has really like lived up to its potential. Like specifically with like Construct Bankbreaker, I think that the card is kind of overhyped a little bit. Like you basically almost always want to just play Mechanoid instead, I think, from what I understand. Just because like the payoff is really good, you get a bunch of free value out of it. Like there's so many good things about Mechanoid that the Bankbreaker just doesn't seem to really provide. And then we're also running, I think, like, you know, the good Maxx cards. We're running like Supercell, like Gas Up. I think I've tried like multiple Gas Ups, but at a certain point I feel like they clunk up, so I'm just running the red ones for now. I can definitely see like maybe running like blue or whatever. I think it's maybe something I'll have to like experiment around with a little bit, but I've been happy with them just at the red slot, just because I think it's like pretty okay just as a red. Like 1 for 4, the stat line's pretty good. All right, next we'll move on to the sideboard. So the sideboard's a little bit weird right now, and I don't fully understand I guess like what I want to be sideboarding for, because again, I have very few games on Maxx, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm like a Maxx expert by any means. This is kind of just a fun Maxx deck that I put together that I think is semi good, but probably not like super optimal. Let's talk about the Pour the Mold. So Pour the Mold is, I think, a card that has been seen in a couple Maxx decks. And the cool thing with this card is that you can basically like kind of cheat out action points off of it. So basically my idea with this plan is that if we ever go off of the Mechanoid plan for whatever reason, like maybe into slower fatigue decks or like into Jarl or into trying to think what else, into like Wizards or whatever, we basically run like the Pour the Mold and then like kind of do like a Cerebellum Clamp Press plan instead of like the full Mechanoid plan. And for that reason, we're also running like AB3 in the board. We're also running, I think, a couple of these cards, like the recharges and the Twin Tech charging stations, I think are mainly for just like fatigue value. Like having a buff is very strong in Maxx, because like you're only having to like you're getting basically like a 1 for 4 and a 0 for 3 without having to boost, and you just apply it to a boost, which is really strong. So these are mostly like fatigue considerations in my opinion. The recharges might end up being main deck, but it gets a little bit awkward because like with the recharges in particular, like it's kind of like if you draw a hand with like and 2 items, a recharge, and then like a gas up, like you basically like can't do anything. So I'm putting them in the board for now. I can definitely see like this maybe moving to main deck, but I do like the gas ups main deck just for like cheating out action points, especially if you're on the Mechanoid plan. And I think that basically covers the deck. Again, this is not a very refined Max deck. This is just a Max deck that I think functions and I was having fun with. So I think that that's kind of the base bar to clear. Again, I am well aware that blue hyperdrivers are probably not good, and also probably the yellow ones are not that good either. And there might be some like other cards that I'm not considering. Like I think Pulse Wave Harpoon has been like some max lists. I've opted to kind of like not run it just because I think that like the medics and like expedite plan and cheating on hyperdrivers is more fun to me. But I could definitely see that being like the objectively, maybe that's like the competitively correct answer. But like if you're playing Max to be competitively correct, got bad news for you. Yeah, so anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get some games, have some fun, and yeah, again, full disclaimer, not a super optimal Max deck, but we're just gonna roll with it anyway. So I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all in the games. All right, so we got a Kayo. I think the Mechanoid plan is probably good enough into Kayo. Don't think there's really anything else to do. Yeah, it seems fine. I think so. I've been thinking more about like the clamp press like sideboard. I'm still like not convinced there's any real reason to run construct bankbreaker at this point, but the wrench plan does seem like it has maybe some merits into like trying to think, like it definitely has merits in like Kano and like Verdance and stuff, I feel like, just so you get to run AB3 and you don't have to like just lose all your armor. I'm almost wondering if it's good in Florian too. I played against a Florian earlier, and it felt like you could maybe do either, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, losing out on AB1 does kind of hurt a little bit. All right, unfortunately, this hand is not ideal, but we'll go ahead and block anyways. If they hit us with another thing, it's like fine. They go off an arsenal at least. Could have actually maybe saved an extra block there. It's probably a slight punt, but that's okay. Missing out on 1 value, theoretically. But yeah, obviously a downside of the 9 hyperdriver game plan. All right, so we can't supercell this turn, which is kind of cool. The problem is we can't really boost. Could also just like hyperdriver into hyperdriver. The blue hyperdriver kind of sucks, not gonna lie. It's like a card I basically never want to draw, which maybe means it shouldn't even be in the deck in the first place. Could crank it and just throw it in the graveyard, which does have some minor synergies with like the hyper scrapper and stuff. I guess we'll just not crank Arsenal Supercell. And maybe next turn we can like just Supercell for 2 Arsenal Pass or something. Or we could also do like red hyperdriver, crank, then Supercell. Couple options, I think. All right, starting out with the Blood Rush, pretty decent. All right, and getting full scabs value, that's gross. All right, coming in for 6, not a ton we can do here, I feel like. All right, so they still have 1 more action point, which is really nasty. I don't think there's any real reason to block yet because there's no disruption. Let's see what the last card is. Yikes. That is a very good turn. So what was that? That was 10 damage plus... It's like a 26 damage turn. Jesus. I guess we will probably just take the opportunity to block a little bit. Maybe we'll block here and then just set up Hyperdriver, Supercell, Arsenal, Fast and Furious, pass back. Hope they don't have as good a turn next turn, I guess. But definitely a very scary start from our Kayo friend there. Alright, go ahead and hyperdriver. Crank it, and then go ahead and supercell paying 2. I think we'll go ahead and put it on the blue hyperdriver and then a red hyperdriver, and then not crank this one. Not crank this one. All right, so our hyperdrivers are set up. Now we just need to find our mechanoid. And then hopefully we can maybe... We have 4 hyperdrivers, so theoretically if we like draw it off the top, we can like Fast and Furious into mechanoid, which is quite nice. Would definitely be a fan of that. They do have the flesh bag though, which is a little bit scary. All right, so I think we're probably just not going to block this turn. Or I guess we're going to block maybe a little bit with the Smash Performance. Destroy a random item in the arena. That's fine with me. All right, fortunately they whiffed on Skeps this turn. I think we're just going to give 4 armor block here. They want to destroy a random item. I think I'm kind of fine with that. So which one did they destroy? Oh, they discarded cast bones. Lol. Okay. Let's go ahead. I guess we'll keep the 0 to 60, I imagine, and then just give full block with armor. I think we'll hold the 0 to 60 in hand in hopes that we don't get our mechanoid banished. So they could throw their scowling here, which would be definitely a little bit annoying. Especially if they hit the 1 and 3. Alright, so they're not going for scowling there. Let's go ahead and tech low Foundry Heart now. So we want to gain some resources, and so we can use our base legs. And then we can also crank. We also make a hyperdriver. Might as well crank it. Oh, we have the 2 floating, right? And then we can mechanoid off this. So we'll banish the one we just made, this one, and then I guess the... Is it actually better to banish the hyperdriver with more counters? I feel like it's probably not. It's probably too cute, right? Go ahead and just banish those 3, and then we can just send in with the mechanoid. So go ahead and get our boatload of value here. Very, very solid. And then we can swing again as well, which is quite nice. So that means they are kind of on a clock here. So they need some way to like go action point positive here to like really kind of capitalize on their 5-card hand. So they do have the Wild Ride. Definitely pretty okay. Well, maybe just throw the first instance of Mechanoid in front of this, and then like we have 6 blocks, so we can cover like a CNC or whatever. Not too concerned about that. More concerned that we just aren't able to fully capitalize on the armor value here. Ooh, into a race face. Pretty decent. So we can be like 0 to 60, then send throttle, block with the other mechanoid, and the zipper hit. I think that seems pretty good. Because like theoretically, if they don't scaling on the 0 to 60, then we just get to play a free throttle as well. I think that seems pretty good with me. They had a very scary opener, but I think we've kind of somewhat recovered from that. All right, let's go ahead and boost here. So if they throw the scowling here and they hit the 50-50, they're obviously in pretty good shape. But we'll see. You can also just do the 50-50 next turn. So I don't think it's like that big of a deal. It's definitely like annoying though. All right, let's go ahead and 0-60 again. At least here we can like make another hyperdriver, so it's not that bad that they hit that. Crank it, and then swing it again, banishing Maxx, sure, why not? So got 5 more turns of this, which is quite nice. So sad. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of bummed that the wrench plan is not like necessarily the alternative game plan that I feel like Maxx was really needing. But like, I don't even know what they could print that's better than Mechanoid. It's like kind of almost oppressively good, it feels like. All right, unfortunately, we don't have a hyperdriver and banish yet, and they might end up killing us off this blood rush. They're both definitely concerns. Alright, they didn't high roll off scabs again on their Blood Rush turn, which is nice. So they can maybe only do Claw into something else, then we maybe are in business. I think we might actually need to save our Mechanoid block for something else, so I'm not going to block the first thing here. Might have to end up blocking with like Expedite and Mechanoid or something. See what they do here. Could also just give 2 cards like Mechanoid plus something. Alright, so we have 4 block on this. So unfortunately, the breakpoints are a little bit awkward here. So you get our Throttle. You could throw 8 in front of it, but it's not even like that good. You could also throw. This is on 4, right? So we undo that. Yeah, there's no real clean way to block this, I feel like. I guess it's still fine. We can like throw this in front of it, and that's still probably decent. Play Expedite, play Throttle, maybe Arsenal the Red Hyperdriver for later. I think this works. Alright, so we'll start with the Expedite, which maybe does end up threatening the on-hit here with the Hyperdriver, which would give us basically another action point. So they're kind of forced to block this here, which is nice. And then we'll go ahead and follow up, I guess, with the Throttle. I feel like we're doing some pretty good damage here, even though they've gotten 2 pretty decent Blood Rushes off of us. And then go ahead and crank this. And then just swing it again with this guy, banishing a Red Hyperdriver. Oh, oh shit, we actually might have made a mistake. So one thing I forgot that you can do with Maxx is that if something is banished under Mechanoid, what you can do to like move it from underneath Mechanoid to your banish zone so that like your gas ups get better is you can pay for it, right? Something I need to get a little bit better at as I kind of learn this deck a little bit more. But it's definitely something you kind of like got to get used to. Okay, so coming with the Pulping, discarding Pulping. Pulping. Yeah, we'll go ahead and block with the left Mechanoid. I guess we're just throwing 1 in front of it. Probably want to hold on to Heist, maybe. Seems like it would basically threaten another action point, which is pretty solid for us. Then maybe we just end up blocking with like Supercell or whatever, depending on what they do. They have like an 8 attack that we can't block. And it maybe gets a little bit awkward. Alright, so coming with Claw. We can throw another 2 in front of it if we want to. What's their last card? Say Savage Sashed. I think we will, I guess, just cash in the last charge of Mechanoid. There's no real reason not to, I feel like. Then we can block 5 on whatever the last thing is. Assuming there is a last thing. Alright, coming with the Pack Hunt. Fortunately, they managed the card that didn't block. So I guess I'll take that. So we could actually block here, go to 1. Or we could block here and go to 1. Then we were basically kind of at risk of dying to Reckless. Which maybe they don't even run Reckless just based on them running Cast Bones. It feels like a lot of bricks if you're running the 1 of Reckless Swing. But KOs are weird. They've definitely been known to do stranger things. I'm going to go to 1 here and risk it, I think. Because we can pay for the heist with the Hyperdriver. Alright, boosting. So they have to block this, and then they'll also have to block a Mechanoid Swing. So as long as they don't have the Reckless, we should be good. We also get to make another like mini Hyperdriver for what it's worth. Aw, they had the Reckless. That's unfortunate. So let's see, I guess, good game. Let's see how many Reckless they were running out of curiosity. They're running 2. Okay, I guess that makes sense. My thought process was at least that if they're running Cast Bones, maybe they're not running Reckless also, but it seems like we maybe just got a little bit unlucky there. That's okay, though. I think that was actually like kind of a reasonable first game. I think if we wanted to not get greedy there, maybe we block with the Heist and then we can just win over the course of 2 turns, but that still seems like a little bit risky, especially with like, I don't know, the amount of armor. Yeah, maybe that was a little bit aggressive. I can definitely see that. All right, let's see if we can get another one there. All right, so we got a Florian. They're going to put us on first. I think that's actually probably what I prefer to Florian. Now, the question is, into Florian, do we want to run just the normal Mechanoid plan, or do we want to run the Clamp Press plan? The Clamp Press plan does let us run AB1, but I feel like we just probably want a Mechanoid. Mechanoid is just a ton of value. Maybe we just don't care about the AB. I think that's pretty reasonable. All right, so we do have an early Mechanoid. I think Or maybe just going to take the opportunity to Big Bertha, pitch into Foundry Heart, and then Arsenal Mechanoid, set up Hyperdriver. I think that seems alright. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and block the Big Bertha here. Seems pretty good. We're going to go ahead and pitch into Foundry Heart to activate Maxx, and then just set up the Mechanoid for later. If we get the Mechanoid on early, I think we're in pretty good shape. But definitely a pretty decent turn order for us. They do get 2 decompose value, which is not bad. Ooh, Medics could be pretty decent here. We could... Can we actually Mechanoid next turn? Is that too early to Mechanoid? So they're probably going to Reaping Blade here, I imagine. And just pass. I wonder if that is actually too early to Mechanoid. Might not be, honestly. So wait, can we do it? So we play out the red Hyperdriver, crank it. We have 2 Hyperdrivers out. We get 2 resources by boosting Fast and Furious. So we're positive 2 resources. We can then play out 0 to 60. And then also Cogworks, swing, swing. I think that works, right? So I guess we'll just go ahead and give armor here. Feels a little bit like we're maybe doing it too early, but I also have not played this deck, so maybe I don't have the kind of fundamentals to know when it's too early to do it. Let's, I guess, go for it, though. So we'll basically go up to 4 resources, pay here. We can get the extra resource off Foundry Heart after boosting. Oh, we also get a Crankshaft, which is not bad. I guess we'll go ahead and put it on the non-token Hyperdriver, just so we have a more likely chance of the red one going to graveyard. Oh, we still need to make a Hyperdriver. Wait, so can we do everything? Pay 2. We have to pitch this, so we can't, unfortunately, Cogworks if we do that. So maybe it is too early. Maybe we're just supposed to, like, play Medics and then, like, set up Hyperdriver and then maybe swing. I don't know if it's too greedy to swing. At least we get a blue Hyperdriver under our Hyper X3, which means we get an additional Mechanoid charge, which is nice. Alright, Medics on hit, not incredibly relevant here. And then we could play it out, but I feel like it's maybe a little bit too soon. Or I guess we could play it out, but we don't have the Hyperdriver, right? So I guess we'll make the Hyperdriver pass. Or I guess we either pass or we can either crank it and then just get an extra card out of them. I feel like the extra card doesn't matter against Florian, though. So maybe we don't crank and just pass. Because, like, Florian on 4-card hand is not anything special, I feel like. Yeah, they probably would have just given us, like, a 3-block or whatever. Okay, so we obviously want to keep our Mechanoid alive. In which case, what do we block with? We can block with, like, the Crankshaft and this. We gain 3 resources, we make another Hyperdriver. I think this works, right? This maybe works. We also don't have to commit to Mechanoid necessarily here. So we gain 3 resources. We pitch. We have to make another we have to make another Hyperdriver, which is the awkward part. So we're not going to be able to Cogworks just yet. It's definitely a little bit awkward. I guess we're still just 0 to 60 anyways. Oh, wait, the Crankshaft actually does matter. So if we put this on the red one, that means we can now Mechanoid and then do everything, right? Wow, that was actually a clutch Crankshaft. So now we get to do it all. And we don't even have to Foundry Heart, which is also quite nice. So let's go ahead and pop our Cogworks. Then we can play out Mechanoid and then just swing, swing. Go ahead and put all those Hyperdrivers under there. And let's remember to actually do the Mechanoid trick this time. So we actually want to get the non-token Hyperdrivers out first so that we can set them up in our banish so we have our gas ups for later. No, we'll go ahead and swing again. Just getting rid of another non-token one. Got a pretty decent lead here. And we also just have the block value on the Mechanoid, which is probably going to be more relevant than the AB here. All right, another CNC is A-okay with me. I don't even know if I need to give up armor here. Feels like it's unnecessary. I feel like taking 7's fine, and maybe we just save it for when we actually need to throw the armor in front of something. Like, we got a decent enough life lead where they're not going to probably be able to kill us with Arcane, fingers crossed. So let's go ahead and start the jump start. Oh, this costs 2. I maybe didn't want to start with that, but that's fine. Then I guess we can maybe want to save the T-bone for next turn. Let's go ahead and just like make a cranked hyperdriver and swing again. Let's get rid of a non-token one. Try to convert all the value out of this mechanoid, which sadly is just like the, I think, best way for Maxx to convert hands. All right, this hand's not doing much other than, I guess we're just blocking with the other mechanoids here. All right, building a Tome of Harvest. So maybe have a Felling or a Plow under or something. Pretty decent. Guess we haven't seen a plow up until this point, so pretty likely that we were going to get plowed. Maybe playing the T-bone there was better. All right, so I guess here we can actually just like block with the like block 9 here if we wanted to, and then just like Arsenal Zipper or like swing Arsenal Zipper hit or something. I think that's like semi-reasonable. They could like Purgatory us, which is like a little bit concerning. So maybe we just like play around Purgatory as well by just boosting instead and not trying to be cute and like try to set up an Arsenal. I feel like Arsenal against Florian's not even that good, right? Like we don't need it, I feel like. Might as well just like play out the card now. Alright, go ahead and boost. So we'll gain an extra resource, which will basically just refresh that one hyperdriver, and then we'll swing it again. Maybe you're gonna try to outlast the mechanoid here, which is definitely a strategy. Go ahead and pay that. Crank it. Swing again. Only have 5 charges left, so it might be dicey whether or not we can get there. They still also have the Florian fridge, which is a little bit concerning. All right, so we do have some non-token hyperdrivers advantage. So their T-bone is, or sorry, our heist rather is very live. All right, to race face, we do have the opportunity to block this. How do we want to block it then? I guess maybe just throw the T-bone in front of it, plus maybe we start developing our mechanoid. Could also just heist as well. Heist is fine, but it also doesn't really like accomplish anything. I feel like we maybe just want to play both of these out. If we want to play both of these out, I think it makes more sense to just throw the mechanoid in front of it. I always forget to not throw this one in front of it. I think this makes sense. All right, we'll start, I think, with the... I guess it doesn't really matter, right? Because we're always going to like get one from this anyways. Let's start with the jump start, just in case they do prefer a Purgatory here. Might be a decent opportunity to do so. Seems like they're going to just go for their red Oath of the Arcanine card I've not seen a ton of. Right, follow up with the heist, which now probably forces another block. We also have 3 hyperdrivers in here, so if we ever find a gas up, it's going to be very, very solid. Kind of like the red and yellow hyperdrivers a lot. The blue ones I feel like don't do a ton for me, but like if you randomly hit them like we did in this game and just like put them under HyperX3, like getting another mechanoid charge is quite strong. All right, and then I guess we'll just finish up with the mechanoid here, banishing Banksy. 4 more charges left. Definitely a little bit dicey whether or not we're going to get there, but I feel like we probably got a decent shot. All right, Felling, definitely scary. What's the plan into Felling? Maybe just get rid of Supercell. You can also just keep blocking in front of this. I feel like 4 is basically the same as 3 in a Florian, especially if they have like disruption, like erase space or whatever. So maybe we'll just get the 4 block here. Start using it before we like potentially die to Arcane, I think is reasonable. Let's, I guess, start with the throttle here. They might be incentivized. Maybe we were supposed to start with the expedite, so they're not incentivized to face Purgatory that. Maybe it's better. Because they probably wouldn't face Purgatory and expedite, would they? They might, honestly. feel like if they expedite, like we have expedite in a card in hands, maybe just like blocking 3 is better though. Yeah, they probably don't face purgatory and expedite. So we can either pitch the expedite to make a cranked hyperdrive, which is kind of bad. I think we're just gonna get the value out of it now. 3 into 6 seems like good numbers. All right, Cadaver's Chilling doesn't seem like it's doing them many favors in this particular matchup. Let's go ahead and banish that HyperX 3. All right, we got 3 more turns. I think we're gonna just barely squeak over the line here, especially since we've been eating a ton of armor and they're 1 now. Like, they're definitely not in a great spot. And like, since we've been going off an arsenal, their plow has been like kind of useless. And we got the gas up, which means we're gonna swing twice here, which is like kind of sick. Yep. I don't think there's. I guess we'll just throw a mechanoid because I don't think it's gonna matter. All right, so the next card we boost this turn, so we might as well gas up, pitching the Fast and Furious, getting red hyperdriver, cranking it. Then we send in the zipper hit, boosting. So we get to do 9 into 6/6. Like, I don't think there's any way they live through this. And it's basically immune to the face purgatory here. It seems like they maybe also didn't have the attack to maybe try to capitalize on that. So we'll go ahead and banish the Foundry Heart. And then I think we're just going to swing again, assuming they survive here, which I guess they technically do, but not realistically. All right, and we'll finish. And we still, I guess, that ended up on 1 mechanoid charge. So I think we just barely got there. So even if we didn't have hit that blue hyperdriver, I think we're probably still in like pretty decent shape. So maybe that's like a sign that we probably don't need the blue hyperdrivers in the first place. I feel like the shell here is like pretty strong though. Like if you cut out like the cue cards like the hyperdrivers, like maybe this is just like what you're running, which is functionally just like normal Maxx. Like, oh, did the Armory deck just like not do anything for Maxx? That would be so sad. Oh, why is Mechanoid so strong? I don't know. This card is maybe just too good to like replace with Bankbreaker or whatever. I don't know. Like I'm struggling to find a reason to play Bankbreaker over Mechanoid, but maybe I just haven't found that reason yet. All right, well that was a pretty good game. Let's see if we can get one last one. All right, so we got a Fang. I think we're gonna go first, and I'm pretty sure we just want our normal plan to Fang. Yeah, I feel like we've not even gotten really a matchup where we want the clamp press stuff. I wonder if there is. Like, I don't know. It's definitely, it feels weird. Like, when do I want clamp press versus just normal mechanoid? It feels like not a ton of the time. All right, let's go ahead and T-bone here. Does mechanoid count as a weapon? It might, honestly. Does it? Hold on, let me look this up. What does this say? Flip card. No, I don't think it's a weapon. Okay, interesting. So the Kabuto does not necessarily apply here. Also, I've not been updating the misplay jar for this episode because I'm kind of expecting to make a ton of misplays. Definitely kind of comes with the territory of learning a new deck, so I'm not going to fault myself for misplays, but you're free to contribute to the jar as you see fit. Let's go ahead and I guess do we want Arsenal 060 versus Medex? I feel like we want Medex. Like Mex is like actually kind of pretty decent in this deck. Go ahead and not crank and then just Arsenal pass. All right, the Master Cog is here to save the day. I feel like Master Cog has actually been like pretty solid. Just in terms of like the deck. Like I feel like it's actually kind of a reasonable card to run at this point. No blocks on the Fire Vein. You do whatever here. Okay, interesting. Rake over the Gulls. I've seen this in some Fang decks, but never to like incredibly great effect. But it's still like I've seen it be like okay, I guess. Nothing like crazy. All right, another Fire Vein coming in. Can we use our full hand here? We can play the gas up, but we're not going to get a ton of value out of it. So maybe we just want to like block with the Hyper Scrapper, but that also doesn't do a ton for us. Maybe we just want to block with like, maybe we just don't want to block, or maybe we block with feel like block with Hyperstrapper probably makes the most amount of sense. Because then, like, that way we're not losing value and we can arsenal the gas up. I think that makes sense. It's like pretty likely they come in for some amount of value here anyways. Alright, they're gonna get their first mark, which is A-okay with me. I think they also revealed that they have Endure Devotion, so they're basically at functionally 2 fealty at this point, which is fine by me. Alright, let's go ahead and Med-X, which might honestly be kind of threatening to them. We'll go ahead and put a steam counter on that and boost. Ooh, we hit a crankshaft, which is very nice. So keeping this nice and healthy at 3 is quite sweet. I do think the crankshafts are quite good. I just like the Big Berthas in general. Like having just a random blue that you can like sometimes get a free, you know, steam counter out of is kind of decent. All right, here we'll go ahead and boost again. All right, boosting a gas up, not ideal. I think it's one of the stronger cards in our deck in general, but we're not really at the point to support it, so it's kind of fine. Then we'll just finish on a uncranked hyperdriver, pass back. All right, found our mechanoid, which is definitely good. Are we gonna want to play it next turn though? I guess is the question. So what do? We T-bone, we make 2/2. We can supercell. I think we can do it. Maybe we don't do it next turn, but we can still like just have a decent value turn if we want. Then maybe we can Arsenal Mechanoid is also fine. Don't think there's any real strong reason to start blocking here yet. All right, so go ahead and clear that first mark. So we T-bone, we gain 2 resources. Then we can theoretically either pitch the supercell to Mechanoid. Like we could do T-bone, zipper hit, Foundry Heart, Cogworks, and then Mechanoid, and then swing swing. And then we get to keep the gas up in our soul. Maybe that's worth it. But then we're not. Oh, we don't have the hyperdriver though. So maybe we can't do this yet. Maybe we need to just take an off turn, and then we can just play out the gas up. I think I'm probably overthinking this a little bit too much. All right, there's scar tissue. We'll go ahead and like block with our armor, I think, next turn. All right, so let's go ahead and use our gas up here. Or actually, I guess we don't use our gas up yet. We T-bone first, right? Go ahead and just get those resources so we're not having to like actively pay into that. I mean, it still doesn't work. Like maybe we still don't gas up. This is super awkward. All right, the Caputo, which is like whatever, like doesn't actually matter here, I think. It's fine by me. So we can zipper hit for, so we can either IP with the Mechanoid, which is weird. And then we can supercell for 2 if we want to. Maybe that's correct. I feel like there's maybe a better thing to do here, but I'm not sure what it was. IPing with Mechanoid feels wrong. I feel like I shouldn't have done that, maybe, but it's still like fine. So now we just get to do this for 2. Put it on those 2. No crank. No crank. And then just pass back. Yeah, it still feels a little bit weird. All right, unfortunately, we've drawn a hand that is very hyperdriver heavy. That's kind of fine. So I think we'll just take the opportunity to just cash in some blocks here and make them pay for weapon. Yeah, we'll make them pay for it, I think. Could potentially get ruined by whatever that card is. The ooh, break the over the coal is actually kind of impressive. They're pushing it over the 1. Could get owned by that you know, the warrior version of Siren's Call. I forget what it's called. The blue, that's provoke. Yes, I remember. Okay. Don't always remember cards, but when I do, sometimes I get it right. All right, if they swing dagger again, we can just throw the Hyper X3 in front of it. Seems okay to me. All right, getting up to 5 fealty, but we got our Mechanoid online, which is very nice. All right, so we need to boost. Okay, so I guess we're just not gonna get that value out of the Cogworks. I guess there maybe wasn't. Oh, we should have kept hold on to the crankshaft. If we hold on to the crankshaft, then we can get the value out of the Cogworks. Okay, that's something I need to remember. I forgot that you have to boost to actually do this. That's okay. That's more so me learning the deck than anything. So we might as well just like transform here. But yeah, definitely I think the correct play was to hold on to the crankshaft, play the crankshaft, which is like definitely like suboptimal. And then we can do everything. Yeah, that makes sense. Go ahead and so we don't have a non-token one, so we'll just get rid of a token one. I think that's fine. And yeah, unfortunately, we definitely should have held on to the crankshaft there. All right, I will add to the misplay jar. I know it's what the people demand. I'm sure there have been other misplays up until this point, but this is definitely a like obvious misplay. But also just me not used to kind of playing the deck. All right, so we do actually have gas up value, which is quite nice. I don't want to throw it in front of this one. I think I want to throw it in front of the second one, ideally. It's pretty unlikely they kill me off of this. They could kill me. They managed to throw like 3 cards in front of this. All right, this is going to be a big dagger. All right, looks like they're going to Saber Bloodshed first. So we'll go ahead and throw the Mechanoid in front of this. And we know they have a Hunt's End. So I guess the question is, like, do we want to commit any more? I think it's, like, semi-reasonable to just, like, throw... So if we know the Hunt's End's there, we might as well just throw the Supercell in front of it and just soak up some damage. So go to 12. Just fine. Then we may just throw the Hyper Scrapper in front of the next thing. The gas up will let us theoretically swing with Mechanoid twice, which is nice. So we're going to just cash in the block here. Pretty unlikely they kill us off 2 cards, especially with Endear Devotion. So chip in for 2, but we're going to have, what is this, 9 plus 6 plus 6 is, what is that, 21? 21 damage turn? And we still have more Mechanoid armor left after that. So we'll go ahead and gas up first. Go ahead and put that non-token hyper, or the token hyper, no, sorry, it's a non-token, whatever. I've said that too many times that I'm like starting to lose my mind. All right, we'll go ahead and crank it, so we'll get our action point back. Then we'll go ahead and jumpstart, boost. Which unfortunately, like, we had to pay the 2 on this, but it doesn't matter because we're just using it for the Mechanoid, basically. Kind of works out. And we'll go ahead and swing and swing. So I think we might have just barely stabilized here. They do have a 4-card hand, so as long as we can live through this 4-card hand, I think we're kind of in decent shape. And of course, we can always just kind of like block out a bit. Like, we don't have to really commit to just like keeping a full hand or anything. All right, starting off with Fire Vein, I feel like I maybe just want to throw a Mechanoid in front of this plus a card, because we can always just block 6 on whatever the next thing is. Could very well just like tooth this, which would be a little bit scary. But I think there's like a decent chance they could pump over to kill us here. All right, Blade Flurry, pretty decent. All right, no follow-up. And then I think we just like blocking 9 on this. We take a card out of their hand. Kind of feel like blocking 9 is correct, just so we can get the maximum value of our Mechanoid. Alright, Long Whisker means they get to attack again. It's definitely a little bit scary. Wonder why they didn't just do this first then. Huh, and then doing a Scar Tissue on the other attack? I think this is fine, though. They want to use the card here, then they're not keeping it for Arsenal. Alright, Pledge is fine. Probably the best case scenario for us here. Oh, I guess they can Dragon Scale and swing one more time. It's not bad. I feel like I've never seen this card used to good effect in Fang. Kind of a card that I feel like has been a little bit lackluster. But at least when we swing here, we'll force a block out of them, so they're down to a 3-card hand. So like they have to give us at least one card here. They also have to give, or I guess maybe react here or whatever. But if they give us 2 cards, I'm more than happy with that, I feel like. Because now we can potentially just keep like a huge hand. So we'll go ahead and definitely block with the Mechanoid, and then are we giving them another card here? I think we probably are. Maybe just give them another Mechanoid. They pump, if they Hunt Send, which is worst case scenario, they're only dealing 4, and then they can swing with another 1. So I think we're fine here. I guess Tooth is also like bad. Blade Flurry is fine. So I get to swing in for another 3. They break Chain and they Brave Forge, then we can block with Mechanoid one more time. So I guess we might as well, right? Go and throw the 2 in front of it, which is our last block, and then go to 3, and we might as well just keep this hand just so that we can send functionally 8 plus Mechanoid. And yeah, I think that should basically get there. Alright, so go ahead and throttle, boost it. Alright, Loyalty will save them here, and then boost again. Fortunately, this is not like red 0 to 60, but I think it's still like kind of passable here. Because now they'll have to basically give us their last 2 cards just to kind of stay alive. Alright, they will stay alive, but they're going to lose basically all their fealty here, which is not really where you want to be as Fang. I guess they can keep their grain if they want to. Yeah, I don't really think there's a way out of them for this. I think we just barely kind of got over the finish line here. Oh, they do get to keep a card with Loyalty. I did forget about that. Alright, that's definitely not nothing. Alright, so worst case scenario is Hunt's End or Tooth, which are both kind of bad, but not like game ending. So if it's Hunt's End, we block 3, they pump to 6, we take 3, we die. The alternative is we block with Heist, and then we just have to swing again, which is like not ideal. Can't block another 1 here, so I think we just have to block 6 here and hope they don't have it. And we probably just can't kill them with any swing, right? If it's Tooth, then we just block and we go to 1. But I think we got to play around Hunt's End specifically. Yeah, unfortunately, the red Hyperdriver not doing us any favors on this hand. Ooh, Perforate's nasty. Actually, maybe not. Oh, they can't play it, right. Gotcha. I thought they had a bigger or something. That makes sense. Might as well just, like, play out the red Hyperdriver. It's not really doing us a ton of favors, I feel like. Go ahead and crank it and then just send this in. They do have reacts to block with, so we might not be out of the woods yet. I don't know. That last hand, I think, kind of killed us, and I also forgot that they were drawing a card off Loyalty. So maybe they're actually fine here. Yeah, maybe we're the ones that are in danger right now. Because we're out of Mechanoid armor. And we also have to, like, basically give them a ton of cards each turn. So they have a Perforate in Arsenal. think we can only afford. Oh wait, they lost their fealty though. So they have a perforate arsenal. They have 1 card in hand. They can't hunt send us anymore. So maybe we're actually fine. Okay, I forgot they. So I forgot they had the loyalty, and I also forgot that they had their fealty stuff. Yes. So I guess we'll go ahead and block with Medics here. It's pretty unlikely we die. I'm trying to think of what they would have to have here to kill us. Maybe like Tooth, but we know that's perforate. They keep trying to play the perforate, which is like throwing me off. I think they are currently not able to play it there. Let's go ahead and start with the T-Bone. Scan a resource. Which I guess lets us make another hyperdriver if it's relevant. Yeah, what a... I think this is still good for us. I initially thought we were dead because I thought they were going to have fealty plus like a random card off the top, but I think they might have hit a little bit of bad variance there. We also get to boost the 0 to 60, which is quite nice. Which basically comes in for lethal at this point. All right, hit a crankshaft. I will take it. All right, now this should be game. I think that I kind of had a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions there, not understanding the board state. It seems like they just had a rake over the coals and the perforate left. Makes sense. Yeah, I think that was actually a pretty close game. Oh, I did not mean to quick rematch. I will concede. All right, you got the win on that one. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's probably a good point to wrap it up. So this is my take on Maxx post Armory deck, and sadly, kind of sadly enough, I don't think the deck actually changed that much, or maybe like I don't. So the problem with this deck, right, is that Construct Nature Mechanoid is like one of the better cards in the game, if not one of the better cards in Maxx, just in general. Just like the amount of value that we squeezed out of some of those games just off Mechanoid is like kind of insane. And then I feel like the wrench stuff does move away from that, but it doesn't really like give, I don't know. It's almost like it moves it in like a completely different direction that doesn't give you a payoff that necessarily justifies it. Like you're basically giving up one of the strongest cards in the game to run a bunch of wrench synergy, which is like fine. But I feel like it's more of just like a sideboard plan for when Mechanoid is not good, which it very rarely isn't good, which is kind of weird. So I don't know, like probably if you want to play this deck competitively, you like cut the blue hyperdrivers, maybe even some of the yellow hyperdrivers, if not all of them, and then just maybe do something kind of closer to this. I do kind of feel like there's something here with like the medics and the heist and the expedite, and like maybe cerebellum kind of sneaks its way in there as well. I'm kind of still doing a lot of testing to kind of like tweak and see if there's any kind of like interesting synergies that I can uncover, because like on hit gain an action point is like very, very strong, especially like with some of the cards like cerebellum. Like if you get an action point, you can sometimes like draw a card. Like a lot of like interesting synergies I feel like with these like on hit put a card into the arena. There might like, I don't know if there's other cards like Pour the Mold. I haven't looked through a ton of the Mechanologist cards. I just saw this one being used as well to like cheat out like a Clan Press and stuff. And I think that one's also kind of interesting. But there's definitely, I feel like, still a lot of exploration to do with Maxx deck. So I'm not going to write off the Construct Bank Breaker plan yet. I've been hearing a lot from Maxx players that they're kind of like dooming and basically saying like the deck has not fundamentally changed too much. Like we basically got like Clan Press and then maybe a couple other like niche cards, but like nothing too crazy. Like maybe some like sideboard playing stuff, but nothing like that like fundamentally changes the gameplay, which I feel like Maxx kind of needed just to move away from Mechanoid. But I don't know what they could even print that like justifies moving away from it because it's so strong. Well, anyways, I'm going to probably stop yapping about Maxx for now. So thank you all for watching. If you have any ideas, suggestions for Maxx, put this deck in the garbage, you know, that kind of thing, let me know. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.